Welcome to another edition of Question and Answer with a Criminal Defense Attorney. I am Mark Solomon, a defense attorney in Denver, Colorado, and today's question is about juvenile cases in Aurora Municipal Court. But before we get to that, don't forget to click like on this video if you're enjoying it and subscribe with a little bell next to it to be notified of future videos. Let's get to the question. Juvenile cases in Aurora Municipal Court. These are a specific subset of questions. A juvenile can be charged with anything that you can be charged with in Aurora Municipal Court, except the offender must be at least 10 years old and less than 18, and the rules are somewhat different. Now, I was a defense attorney in Kentucky, and there all juvenile cases were confidential. In other words, nobody could get into the courtroom unless they were they had an interest in the case. Here in Colorado, especially in Aurora Municipal, where we're talking about today, that is not the case. The juvenile court or juvenile cases are open to anybody. Now, let's look at the law so you can see a little bit more about how Aurora has done its laws, and that way it'll be a little bit clearer as to why things are the way they are in that court. So here in Aurora, have to be at least 10 but less than 18 unless you are, or unless the juvenile is emancipated. Now, when a juvenile is being charged with a crime in Aurora Municipal Court, the parent has to appear with them, at least one parent. So the parent has some extra special rights. Like, for example, the parent has to consent to the juvenile pleading guilty to something. And if the parent does not consent, then the judge will not accept a guilty plea from that juvenile, and the case will have to proceed to trial. Now, because juveniles, here, and we're going to get to this in a minute, but because juveniles can't be subjected to jail for the original offense, they don't get a jury, just like in Colorado state courts. No jury. It's a bench trial. It's a trial to the court. But interestingly enough, the parent is required to be there, and when you look at the responsibility of the parent as far as the payment of the fines, the parent is jointly and severally liable for any fines, fees, and costs that are assessed to the juvenile's case, meaning that until the kid turns 18, the parent is responsible for those fines. So that's something good to know if you're a parent. And also, the child will have the right to apply for a public defender as well, if the offense that they're being charged with can be punishable by jail. So when we look at that, let's take a look at the actual law about the incarceration of a child. That's this section here, 50-299. No sentence shall be imposed upon persons under the age of 18 who have been convicted of a violation of the code other than traffic offenses. However, and this is the important part, that's a big however, incarceration not to exceed 48 hours, 2 days, may be imposed upon a child for failure to comply with a lawful order of the court, including failure to pay the fine. What that means is, even if a child is found guilty in the court or pleads guilty to something and is assessed a fine, some sort of community service, or some other class, do homework, attend school, so forth, and the juvenile does not comply with those terms, then the juvenile can be sentenced to 2 days in jail. Before that can happen, though, they do have a right to apply for a public defender because jail is now something that can happen. If there's going to be a hearing, something where the juvenile can be sentenced to jail, they have the right to an attorney so that they have the right to get a public defender if they qualify for one. So, and as I said earlier, as far as jury trials, they do not get one. So no child shall be entitled to a jury trial for which imprisonment in jail is not a possible penalty. And there you go. So that should answer all the questions that anybody should have about juvenile cases. That does include traffic cases, criminal cases, that type of thing. So careless, reckless driving normally would be jailable offenses, but not for juveniles in this court by law. So that is the question and answer for today. If you would like your own question answered in a future video, remember you can always put them in the comments below, email them to me, or tag me on Twitter. And also, as always, you have a right to remain silent. If a police officer asks you questions about anything you have, where you've been, what you know, or anything, you have a right to say, I don't want to talk to you. And if they persist, you have a right to say, I want an attorney.